All right, welcome back, everybody. How has the world changed in this new pandemic environment? Well, the choices and the answers are endless, but let's focus that on recruiting for businesses and for workers who are looking to be recruited. Join me this time as one of this nation's leading talent attraction strategists. How's that for a fancy word? That's the new fancy word these days, folks, for recruiting specialists. Let me welcome from Philadelphia, Kelly Robinson. Kelly, great to have you with us.
Thank you, Rex. Great to be here.
Recruiting in a virtual work environment. Let's talk about first from the employer standpoint. What's going on today that employers should be aware of that perhaps was not the case, say, a year ago?
Well, so I'll start actually just kind of at the beginning of COVID, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So even right before COVID, there were some employers that would, participate in maybe Zoom interviews or something like that, but that was pretty rare. They'd want to fly people in. And then the other piece is they would be allowing people to work at home just a little bit. Then COVID hit and everything had to be virtual. It's a whole new world. So everything pretty much stopped for a little while and things started to pick up when people started to innovate and figure out how to do this kind of virtual work environment in general. So you've got employers that are trying to find talent and not only that, but finding them and then interviewing them virtually and then trying to onboard and train.
Wow.
And integrate them into a virtual work environment. So it is a whole new ballgame and people have done an amazing job with it. That's for sure.
You know, it didn't occur to me. It's one thing to interview someone virtually. It's another thing to try and train them. That's a heck of a process.
It is. And it's not, this Zoom fatigue that they talk about. You've heard this, Rick, right? The Zoom fatigue.
Yeah.
It's a real thing because when you get on a Zoom, it is like being in person, but it's like you're feeling like because you're behind a camera or behind the computer, you have to express yourself greater almost. It's fascinating, but it's exhausting.
Yeah, it is.
That is a real thing. And then you can't always read full body language. So and some people are uncomfortable with the camera. So you have them maybe sitting like this or like they're not sure what to do. And so it's really hard when you can't meet people face to face. So you have to make those accommodations and you have to make people feel comfortable, especially in an interview. You always want people to feel comfortable. You don't want to, I always say, don't throw the panel of 5 people on the person that you don't want to intimidate them. You want to put them in a real environment, which this is not real, right? But it's real, but it's not real. To see how they're going to be, to make them comfortable, to see how they're going to be when they get into the workplace. So it's fascinating. Kids, dogs, noises, lawnmowers, it's all acceptable now. It wasn't before.
Right. That is very, very insightful, practical advice, Kelly. Not what I was expecting to hear, but because, you don't know what you don't know, and I didn't know. So what advice might you have for that person being recruited when it comes to the virtual interview?
Yeah, I there's so many people out of work right now, and here's what I would say. Keep going, keep focusing on the positive because being at home is tough. And so then being out of work and having kids that you're trying to help with school and you're trying to find a job, which is a full-time job. That's why people like me are in business, right? It is a full-time job and it gets difficult in general, but then add all of this on top of it, it's even more difficult.
Yeah.
It can be depressing. It's hard and there's not as many openings anymore. So it's even harder. It's really tough. So I would say be positive, make a schedule, focus, make sure you know what you're focusing on. Ask someone like me. People can call me. I give advice all the time. I don't make money on job seekers. That's not how I recruit. So I talk to them all day long just to give them advice and help them. You really have to have a plan and structure, and then just stick to it and keep going.
Any suggestions you have for that individual out there on how to make themselves stand out?
Well, everyone looks at LinkedIn now. So you've got to have a great LinkedIn profile. That's the way people in the professional world, that's the way people are going to see you first. And that's your first impression. It's not a resume anymore. It's a LinkedIn profile. And then the LinkedIn profile it's supposed to show your persona, who you are. It's not a resume. It's a summary of here's what I'm about. Here's who I am. And so it is your time to kind of tout what you've done and talk about yourself. Interviews are also times to talk about yourself. That's really important. People are like, it's so uncomfortable to talk about what I do, but that's your chance. Same thing with LinkedIn. Try to highlight whatever you can. And there's lots of people to help you out there if you need help.
Got it. Well, Kelly, this is great information. It's practical information. And I'll repeat what I said a moment ago. You don't know what you don't know until someone shows you. And I think you've done that today. Again, talent attraction strategist. How did that phrase change from recruiting strategist to talent attraction strategist? Any idea?
Yeah, so, it's just over the years, this recruiting, I think is big. You know what? I think it's a dirty word, right? Because a lot of recruiters have a bad reputation.
I was not aware. Okay.
Right? Yeah, I mean, that has happened. So I think there's been this evolution of trying to create, various new terms, and talent acquisition has really stuck. And so people do talk about talent attraction or acquisition, and then talent, attaining.
Well, one thing I'm not the expert like you are in this field, but one thing I can say to our audience out there with a degree of expertise: do not have happen to you what happened to me. In one of my first jobs I was interviewing for out of college. I was at a recruiting office being interviewed. I'm about 22. And as I'm talking, my mouth is wide open. A fly, I'm not exaggerating, a fly flew into my mouth.
But that made for good conversation and a laugh, right?
Yeah, exactly. All right, Kelly, good stuff again. I want to let our viewers know you are now a contributor to Politics and Profits on recruiting, or should I say talent attraction. You're going to be making many appearances here, and we look forward to your expertise, your input, and your personality on this show.
Thanks, Rick.
All right, broadcasting from the Liberatory CPA studios, back after this.
Politics and Profits with Rick Amato is brought to you by Liberatory Accounting, the IRS problem solvers. To find out how Liberatory Accounting can help you, call 877-6-SOLVER. That's 877-6-SOLVER.